Welcome one, welcome all to Behind the Wheel, our ESPN Esports Rocket League program. Thank you so much for joining us live on Twitter, Twitch, the ESPN app, and on YouTube. We are here every single Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And yes, we are in the thick of things as it pertains to the majors across regions. Oceania was shored up. If you want to get caught up on that, you can check out our archives from last week's episodes available on our YouTube channel /ESPN Esports. South America, Europe, and NA take center stage, and we have two of the great broadcasters of the RLCS to break it all down for us here this episode. Making his debut on Behind the Wheel, it is Stax, and of course, returning to the show is Shogun. Let's start with Stax, buddy. How are you? Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Excited to make my ESPN debut, and I get to do it with I don't think I've been on a show with Shogun ever, and we've wanted to do this for so long, and now I can see Shogun is
that's not what you were saying
so
when the
excited.
show. That's not what you
He's
were
so
saying when
excited.
the show,
We
before
might
the show
have done
started.
like old school Gfinity things back in like pre-RLCS sort of days.
Right?
So that
Yeah.
might be about it. So yes,
Yeah.
this is our first show together.
Yeah, and you're so excited. I love it.
Not to burst your bubble, but before you got into the Discord, he was talking smack about you. He's like, I can't believe I have to work with this noob, and I just don't want to
was our
be here.
secret.
This hack, just like, you know what I mean? It's just really bad.
He's just
Very, very
really
bad.
jealous of the hat. Okay, I can understand.
Yeah,
It's a good
I am
hat.
actually. It is.
I like your setup, by the way. I was telling you this off camera. Your setup is wonderful. I need to know where you got those shelves because they're terrific. Well done.
I don't know if
Well
you've got
done.
the shop over where you are, but I'm sure you'll find something similar.
This is a collaborative effort, everybody. I have Twitch chat up. If you have any questions for Stax and for Shogun throughout the show, drop them there. I'm going to be following along, and I'm going to ask as many questions as possible. The top 10 is coming up. Predictions are coming up. But let's talk about how exactly we got here in the first place. Stax, let's start with you since you're the new guy in town. The majors are well underway, as I mentioned, and South America, we're seeing the playoffs emerge there. 3 Sins going 3-0. What were some of your major takeaways from the South American major so far?
Well, I think everybody in the world thought that, or everybody that followed South America thought that 11s was just, the team to beat. Nobody is going to be able to beat them. They're going to run roughshod over everybody. And then in the early stages, Atypical of all teams takes them down, and then they had to battle themselves, Atypical, just to get in. So I think South America is far more wide open and diverse than a lot of people think, and I think it's got a lot of depth to it that kind of came as a surprise this weekend.
Shogun, how about for you? Any surprises? Anything that jumped off the page?
I think the atypical result is the main one that is always going to be brought up here. And I think it got even more surprising because after we got to see them beat 11s, we were sort of thinking, all right, well, how'd they do that? Because I don't think they were featured on either of the streams. So we were thinking, all right, these teams, they must be playing fantastic. And then Atypical came up onto the mainstream. And I don't quite know what they were doing, to be perfectly honest. They were looking rough during those parts. So hey, they did what they had to do to get on in. I'm very curious whether or not they are capable of sort of bringing that performance again, because what I saw from Atypical wasn't the sort of performance I would be looking at and go, hey, that's the team right there that's going to take down 11s. As for 11s, this is them having a little bit more of a slip up, and there has been a little bit more of a question lately about whether or not they can be as dominant as they have been over the last few months, or getting close to half a year now. So teams like the 3 Sins, teams like True Neutral, they will be breathing down their neck looking for a big opportunity to take this away from them.
So Atypical really made it interesting for their fans in order to qualify. After game 1 being a sweep, they got swept twice by True Neutral and by PDHM Gaming, and the other 2 series went to a decisive game 5. So it wasn't an easy road for them to qualify for playoffs. One positive is that 11s is on the other side of the bracket, so if they are to meet them, they would meet them in the grand final of the major. As you take a look at the playoff bracket, both of you, Shogun, let's start with you here. What are some of the matchups you're really looking forward to, and how do you see this shaking down?
I think, that sort of big 4, it's still more of a big 3 of Noble being on the outside for me. It's going to be, mostly them fighting against each other on this one. Era could maybe start showing up yet again, but it has been a while since I've been overly impressed by them. So I think I would expect to see all 4 of them making it into the semifinals: True Neutral, Noble, 3 Sins, and 11s. And from there on out, I would expect to see probably a True Neutral 11s final. As for after that, I think True Neutral have some actual proper class to them right now. So they would be the outsiders there, absolutely. But if there is a time for them to do it, maybe now's the time. They are starting to reach that sort of level. And we have to keep remembering that, whilst the majors are fantastic and they're a great opportunity to start proving yourself, this is a major opportunity for the teams, maybe, the Nobles, the True Neutrals, to start climbing up those rankings and start getting themselves more points, because there will be less spots available for the South American region when we do get back to the international tournaments once we are allowed to. So they're going to want to be as far at those points as they possibly can be.
How about for you, Stax? Any thoughts as you look at the playoff bracket? Do you see this being rife for upsets, or do you think it's going to be the usual suspects making it to the semifinals and finals?
Yeah, well, I think if Era were on the other half of the bracket, literally anywhere, I'd like their chances at making a run. I mean, they had probably the most fun match of the whole day in the Swiss stage when they had that reverse sweep against, I think it was Carnage. But boy, they're up against 3 Sins. I don't like their chances at all. The True Neutral is the team that interests me the most because, they're the team. They've got, AJG and Shad, who are together. I think they highlight exactly the importance of just one roster change, because you go back to about a year ago, they were on an absolutely terrible team together. And they were to the point where, at one point they just farmed saves for a series or a game. And that's why, AJG has the saves record. It's like something astronomical, like 16 saves in a game. They make one change. Ray's Bull is amazing. And now they look like one of the best teams in all of South America. It's just amazing that you can stick with it. You make one change and boom, instant offense. And I like their chances. I think that it's between them and 11s. Like Shogun has said, I think 11s is still probably the team to beat, but I would like to see a team of not all Brazilians win South America, because Brazil has dominated that region up to this point.
So the South American Major will be the first decided this weekend, a huge, massive, massive, massive weekend of Rocket League action with South America, EU, and NA all being decided. Currently in the playoffs, we're going to get to EU and NA in a second, but it'll be October 23rd that South America wraps up, with October 24th being EU's day and October 25th for North America. Let's now shift our focus to EU, the dominance of BDS, Shogun. BDS showing us that, listen, you talk about us, you put us number 1 and 2 in your rankings, but we need to leave all the other teams in the dust, okay? There's been a lot of teams in EU that have struggled this year, Barcelona being one of them, and they faced BDS first in the playoff bracket. But how impressive have BDS been, and how much of a favorite are they?
I think BDS were such a shock to all of us, because we were coming in, we knew they were good, but there's only so high you can put them compared to the competition they've had up to this point. And previously, they were a rival team. We haven't had the chance to see them in those big tournaments. And then during the off season, we started to have our eyes opened a little bit more. We think, all right, BDS, maybe there's a little bit there. There was more than just a little bit. This is a team that is pulling away from the region. We can talk about Vitality being their closest rival, but Vitality slip. BDS don't slip. BDS will be taken out by the top teams and nobody else. They refuse to have that go against them. And I gotta say, it's almost refreshing, and I don't mean this as a slight against K-Dop at all. It is refreshing to have a top team in Europe that has not got K-Dop on it, because it has felt like that has been the prerequisite for the longest time between Vitality, between Dignitas, even things like a Mocket for the longest time. Just, it's been nice to see 3 players come together and really make the whole difference to their own careers. They are stepping up at the perfect possible time, and they're dominating a region that is notorious for being impossible to predict, and they're making it easy to predict them every time.
I mean, what a story they've been. And honestly, like, there's a lot of positives to this team, and they continuously have been in the conversation all split long, to the surprise of many people. They have gold. It's like a literal gold bar when you look at their placements on Liquipedia, right, Stax? Like, it's been very, very impressive. But then you look at some of the teams that didn't make it, and like the first one that comes to mind is Dignitas. Like, this is a team, I know that there's rumors out there about what may or may not happen, Stax, but you look at Dignitas this season and you're just like, what on earth is going on there? And now they fizzle out of the major, which just caps a very disappointing split for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody's been talking with Dignitas. Yeah, sure, there are rumors, but also, like, we know, Violent Panda has been hurt. And it's something that is not easy to play through, and he's tried to. The end of the split, I don't think could come soon enough for Dignitas. And they still, like, even with Panda not being, at 100%, having kind of a nagging injury, we're still very close to being a top 8 team. I mean, you look at their couple of losses, they go 5 games with Barca and Fadeaway. I mean, they're a couple of bounces away from being in the top 8 still. So I think this little break will certainly help them. But on the same token, I mean, if you're not BDS or Vitality, it's looking like, what's the point? Because, there's only 2 teams that have even beaten Vitality in the regional stage. Barrage doesn't exist right now because they were 0-3 in the Swiss stages. And the other is BDS, and they did it twice. So if you're not one of those 2 teams, it's tough to justify showing up the way that they're dominating everybody.
So the other teams that I'd look at as well, other than Dignitas, Oxygen Esports, they have been a perennial disappointment this split. And they really should not have been, right, Shogun? Like, they have the players there that really, like the former Singularity boys, they really should have had a better outing. And like, just this is very disappointing. And to be fair, just like Dignitas, they did have a couple of heartbreaking Game 5 defeats. But still, when you look at it on paper, it's very disappointing.
How do we define heartbreak when it comes to Oxygen anymore? Because I feel like, it should sort of be like the out of nowhere sort of thing. Oh, we've been doing fine, but suddenly it's all gone wrong for us. For us now, it's just sort of tournament to tournament, really. It has been really disappointing because you want to give a team like this the benefit of the doubt. You want to give them time. You want to say, hey, you've got good names to you. Surely they should be working. But we are now, 3 months into the season, 4 Swiss tournaments through, and they've not made it to the playoffs in any of them. It's not working right now. Let's put it like that. This is a team that should be performing better, and it has been a trade so far that has not worked out for either team when it came to Astral moving over to Dignitas, moving from Dignitas onto this. Dignitas, through injuries, you can say what you want about that, but they're not getting the results that they had last season. We have not got Oxygen anywhere near where they were in the previous season. It's gone wrong. It could be better.
It's very diplomatic of
diplomat.
You. Very like, oh my gosh.
I have to hold back. All right, I've got the hat on. This is professional mode.
My
all right?
goodness! Wow. That is the most like on the line answer I've heard ever. Just like Shogun is just there shaking hands, kissing babies, and giving answers. Like, great job, man. Great job. Got to give you credit for that.
There will be quotes on this later, but they'll only be able to type it out. There'll be no visual of it. And they're like, well, Shogun, from what I'm reading here, he was perfectly fine. So I've gone for the written down version that sounds just good.
All right, let's talk about the positives to come out of this. Can we first talk about the Virtuoso goal? Stax, can you take us through this one? How incredible this was. Thomas, our esteemed, amazing producer behind the scenes, if we can play that clip, can we just talk about how incredible this was?
Yeah, so Virtuoso, first of all, he is just a walking highlight reel. Like, okay, you see he's coming from the side there, and it's just like, okay, sure, nice pass, he's already up. He's up now. Like, he comes off the ceiling. He's going for this before Relating Wave even makes contact. Like, at the point you're scoring this, like, how do you defend that? That's impossible. That was just by far the highlight of the weekend for me from all three regions. That one goal from Virtuoso.
I'm going to sort of point something out about how it must be like to play with Virtuoso, because there's a lot of players out there, and we've seen it previously, where the big stage scares them. You know, they play one way in scrims, they look fantastic at that moment, but you put the name RLCS onto it, suddenly, you know, you play a little bit differently. You play scared. You try and make sure that you're defending first before looking for your chance. And to have a player like Virtuoso, who I'm fairly certain doesn't know what pressure is and just does whatever he feels like doing, has to be so liberating, because you look at him and just go, yeah, okay, that's working. That's perfectly fine. You go and do whatever you want to do. And that's going to say to you in your own head, I don't need to feel the pressure that I'm feeling. I don't need to try and hold myself back. Virtuoso's off doing whatever he wants to do, and he's making it work just fine. So I'm sure for his teammates, seeing him go for plays like that and have the trust in them the whole time that they can cover if it even goes wrong, it's got to be so nice to have him around.
So, yeah, I mean, you said it, Stax. That was definitely goal of the weekend. One of the contenders for goal of the split, really. I mean, that was just a highlight upon a highlight. Speaking of highlights, if you are a fan of Galaxy Racer, you absolutely loved the fact that they went through essentially all of French Rocket League this past weekend and came out on top. They played against 8 of the 11 French players in the major yesterday and beat them all. And this is a testament to, you got to give credit to French Rocket League for really stepping up this split. They had a terrific split. A lot of stars were born. But then Galaxy Racer comes along and just runs roughshod. It was a very impressive sight, especially for their fans. Shogun, what did you make of this performance?
I mean, this is becoming the norm now, and that is fantastic to see, because Galaxy Racer, for the longest time, you see, you know, player names on this one, and you say, all right, oh, that's the DreamHack Leipzig team. Well, that's good. You know, it's good to see they're doing well. But after DreamHack Leipzig, when they did have that star-making performance, they sort of fell off a little bit. And you struggle to get back into your mind that, hey, this team can be consistent. This team can be devastating when they are on their day. So they have been just so solid lately. They are performing to a level, and this was my issue previously with some of their other results, is that they were doing it in a way that you look at and you just go, that worked today, but, you know, if we ask you to do this 9 more times or 9 more days in a row, you don't stand a chance, lads. But now they're doing it in a way that looks consistent, and it looks like something they can replicate tournament to tournament, and that is exactly what they're doing. So it's not just good results for them, it's a good play style. It's something that they can carry throughout the whole year.
Very impressive stuff as we take a look at the bracket here. And now you see that we are on a collision course, at least if you are a fan of Galaxy Racer and Team BDS. If they can get through Barcelona and Triple Trouble respectively, then they will meet in the semifinals. On the other side of things, you have Renault Vitality, Giants Gaming, Endpoint, and Top Blokes. Top Blokes, baby. Another 3-0 run. They went through Galaxy Racer 3-1 in order to get here. And now they find themselves on the opposite end of the bracket. We've talked a lot about Top Blokes this split and on this show, Shogun. But now, based on what you've seen in the major, where would you put them in terms of the list of favorites in the playoffs?
Okay, so I'm going to tell a quick story, because at the start of the season, I said, look, give me your favorite teams. I'll try and describe them in one sentence. And the Top Blokes coach decided to ask me for my opinion, which was probably not the smartest idea ever, but he took it on very well, because I turned around and said, you guys are the gatekeepers. You guys are the team that is really good, but you are there to be beaten by the team that goes on to win. And they took that well. I stand by that one, but they have made it their own now. They are actually a threat, and I'm happy to now start taking away that gatekeeper target for them. They are now a team that should be a threat for these sort of positions. The only issue for them is that they're kind of in an era of BDS and Renault Vitality. But in this season where the prize pools are the highest they've ever been, when you've got more opportunities than you've ever had before, being that third best team in the region, you're third or fourth, it's sort of between them and Giants, there's no better time to do it, you know, as long as you can keep on top of it. But for Top Blokes, they're not going to drop this level. They have got a team that will perform consistently week in, week out. And I'm so curious whether or not the little bit of extra experience now on Archie is going to make a big difference for them. Because last time we saw them really get their big shot at a grand final, Archie was playing fantastically on the day and then suddenly nowhere to be seen in that grand final against BDS. Now that he's got that little bit of extra experience, I'm curious, will he be the version of Archie that we want to see? Will he even have the chance to do so? I want to see it. I want to see a Top Blokes, just major win. I want to see them win a tournament now to add themselves to that list.
Stax, what do you think?
Yeah, Archie is, boy, it's right there between him and Extra as the two best pickups from season 9 to season 10 here. I think that I think Archie has been the more valuable of the two pickups, and you get that sense when you talk to his teammates as well. I mean, they've known Archie has had this potential for a while, and then, hey, he's finally eligible to play in the RLCS. They did not waste any time. They immediately brought him on board, and he has been just rock solid for the most part. He's had his hiccups, and when he's off, yes, Top Blokes are a very, very different team, but they are very quickly becoming one of my favorite teams to watch. And Archie, Rookie of the Year in RLCS, I would certainly buy it.
Wow. Okay. I like, these are the kind of bold predictions that we are here for. Thank you, Stax, for stepping up to the plate and giving Reddit something to flame if it doesn't happen. It's very nice of you. It's very nice of you to do that.
There's no shortage of that. No shortage of that at all with me.
I want to ask about this. So let's talk about possible underdogs or surprise runs in the bracket. I'd like to shine a spotlight on Triple Trouble for a second because they won the first grid in EU week 1, right? And then they struggled to make the playoffs in pretty much every tournament after that. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
Look,
and
can
now,
I preface this with, I don't like Triple Trouble because they kept
How
knocking my grid
dare
team
you?
out every single time in the grid. I think Guild was 0-4 against Triple Trouble, so they kept giving me an early day. So I'm going to preface this is going to be very negatively biased.
okay,
And
fair enough.
Stax, what is that?
What
is that?
Oh,
Oh no, what's going on there? What's that? What's that?
Just
Oh,
repping
my.
the brand.
Okay.
A bit of I'm a totally unbiased commentator. I
come
promise.
on. Look at
totally
that.
It pulls
unbiased.
us to a 0 overall on the bias scale. You're someone very much against, very much for.
Now, are you going to show us your Triple Trouble tattoo as well, Stax?
Oh, yeah. Let me just, no.
But they lose handily against BDS. Then they beat Guild and Endpoint in a 5-game series, and they beat Giants as well more convincingly. And now they find themselves in the playoffs. Like, do you think that this is them improving from what we've seen on the season? Or is this more, they had a good day and good for them for making playoffs, but we shouldn't put too much stock into this?
Yikes. That's tough to answer. Why don't you, hey,
I think
Shogun,
the best way to
defer
answer
you.
this, I think this one's easy to answer with. We've seen this from Triple Trouble before.
Yeah.
They can have these sort of days, but that's been their issue. They have this sort of day, and then they don't replicate it. As you mentioned, they won the first grid. Didn't really do much with it, which was the unfortunate part. And that's the problem. They have got so much talent on this team. Bluey, my goodness. He is horrifying. Whenever he's got the ball in his own side of the field, he's basically already guaranteed that he's getting it to the other side with no problem whatsoever. Triple Trouble, so dangerous when they are not scared, when they are willing to throw everything at you, when they almost get a post-it note, put it onto the bottom right-hand side of the screen, just go, all right, I don't know how much boost I've got, but I'm going to go for that thing anyway. And that is when they are at their best, when they just play with completely no fear. My problem will be whether or not they can do that consistently and whether or not they can hold that over to next Sunday. You mentioned that they did have a loss against BDS. So is everyone. So that one's almost like a blank check at this point.
I wonder if it's like the thing is like it's impressive who they won, who they beat. I mean, triple treble, right? But then you look at that BDS loss and you're like, maybe the gap still is too insurmountable despite even them making the playoffs, you know?
I mean, BDS have done that. I would put Barca as like number 5 in the region right now. And Barca looked kind of just flat against BDS. You know, me and Johnny were saying it's like, wow, this is a great defensive performance, but what sort of number 5 team against number 1 just has a good defensive performance and doesn't really put that much threat against them? That is just how good BDS are right now, and they are just that good at making you look, well, normal in a way. So, yes, it is very easy to turn around with the triple trouble result against BDS and say, well, they didn't look very good, but who does look good against BDS? We've had so many teams, you know, even in a grand finals, Giants look great for 2 games. And then the next 2, it was over because they lost those first 2 games and it just got locked down from there on out. BDS are just that team that do that to you.
Really, the only team to really soundly defeat them more, I guess, consistently this season has been Vitality. They beat them in the regional event in the semifinals 4-1. They swept them in week 7 of the grid. Like, I guess maybe Vitality, if you were to make one team their kryptonite, so to speak, maybe it's Vitality. But yeah, like otherwise BDS just makes a lot of teams look pedestrian, right? So
yeah. Well, they met up in the semifinals of all 3 regionals. It was just, you know, as often as Endpoint and Guild met each other, it was just, you could bet on semifinals. Yeah, we're going to have Vitality and BDS. And BDS took the first 2. Vitality finally got one over and took the third. And then, I mean, at that point, they get to the finals, and you kind of knew that semifinal might as well have been the final. That matchup is so fun to watch. Just every time you are watching peak Rocket League, and you might be watching certainly 2 of the top 3 teams, but you might be watching the 2 best teams in the world when those 2 meet on the field.
Well, speaking of best teams in the world, many of them qualified for NA's major, including NRG, G2, and Space Station Gaming, who have been very consistently in the top 4 of major tournaments, I should say, throughout the split. G2 improving at every iteration, particularly when they finally got into their team house and cranked the air conditioning. That's when we started to see results there. But certainly the world champs are there, with the story that NRG has had Space Station Gaming continuously number 1 in many power rankings in our previous episodes for people that put them together. But there has been some upsets as well. And we got to start with the Sonics, because they went on a run, boys. They went on a run. They 3-0'd the Peeps. They 3-0'd the Pioneers. And then it just wasn't their day when they finally met Rogue. But there were some surprising results, Shogun, as we take a look at North America's major results so far.
I feel so bad for the Sonics. I really do. They were looking so good, and their reward for it was NRG and SSG. It was harsh, to say the least. You have to go in with 2 losses into Rogue. Not the most fun time in the world, but North America is a region that has been very stable this season so far. You know, quite a bit of mixing up. I feel like the top 8 has sort of solidified themselves as who they should be. That top 4, on the other hand, you know, there is the one team in there that hasn't got themselves their RLCS win just yet, and that is G2. They'll need that if they want to continue their fight for it, because if they're not, you get the feeling that one of the other 4 is going to pick up their second. Can we just talk real quick, Stax, about the emerging teams real quick? Because North America,
I'd love to.
It feels like it was always like a farming ground of sorts. You would see teams come up, and then the best player would be like, oh, cool. All right, you're going on to NRG, mate, or you're going on to G2. And now we've just seen like whole rosters move up and just be so scary. You know, KCP, Alpine, Peeps, maybe less so Peeps, you know, PK, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and, you know, in the previous formats, this is why I do like, as much as I love the Rival Series, I love this new format, because, you know, previously with the Rival Series, yeah, you'd have a team come up into the RLCS and then they just get picked apart. You know, there'd be just a team with a lot more money and just better teammates around to say, hey, we're going to drop this guy and pick you up. And now the team that just promoted up into the RLCS is just going to be completely obliterated. Now you're seeing these teams actually stay together because they have a lot more to play for. And when they do, lo and behold, they show they're actually really good. The Kansas City Pioneers in particular, I mean, they're a team that literally just got better every single time they got on the field. They went from just kind of an afterthought in the early stages of the grid. They barely missed the playoffs, I think, in the first regional. Then they just got better and better. They got into the top 8. Then they got into
going to be Envy, James,
the finals
over
of the
KCP.
third regional against
I had no
Envy.
doubts.
I mean,
You
they
know,
are a
when
team
me and
that
Gibbs
has gone
made this
from
pick,
just a
I
footnote
was
to,
100%
oh,
confident,
no,
and
please put them
they
on
didn't
the
let
other
me
side of
down.
the
This is
bracket.
what you expect out of Envy when things
And
are on the
they- like
line.
that-
Turbo,
that
he's a guy
gradual
who is so
progression,
clutch,
if you
and his teammates
believe
helped out too.
in
Atomic missed
momentum,
playing very
and if
well,
you
and I
believe
didn't really
in
have many doubts
the
about him. in
snowball
this,
continuing to grow, then I guess that means that the Pioneers are winning this whole thing. Maybe they got maybe
I
it's
mean,
the finals
maybe.
of Regional 3, right? Just that they've consistently improved at every single level. So I mean, it's only math, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was fantastic to hear from him. I think it was their interview this week that they said, hey, we want to be like G2. We just want to stick together. You know, we want to go through the highs. We want to go through the lows. It was weird hearing them say that, and then they did not look good at all against Envy. That was a ugly series that I was really looking forward to when I got into it, and then the gameplay was slightly below what we were hoping for. But for KCP, it will be the question is like, it's very easy to say that right now. It's very easy whilst things are going very well for you. You're performing above what most people were expecting from you at the beginning of the season. When they hit that troubled patch, and it will happen, it happens to everybody, will they still be singing the same tune? That's what I'm curious now. You said it aloud. It feels like you've almost got to stick with it at this point, because if any change happens, everyone's going to look at that VT that they did and just go, "Should have said that, mate. It didn't really come true."
Yeah, and they didn't even beat anybody, yesterday. They beat Frontline, they beat the Knights, they beat XSET. And granted, XSET was playing out of their minds. XSET was probably playing better than they had all split long. But it's still Frontline, Knights, and XSET, and you can say the same about the Peeps. They didn't have a tough schedule, but on the same token, you can only play who's in front of you. And
Sonics will really be asking why could we have had that.
Yeah, well, yeah, they played 5 playoff teams, unfortunately, and them's the breaks, unfortunately. So them and XSET actually had to play through 5 different playoff teams. Just, I don't know. I do feel terrible for the Sonics because they almost reverse sweep NRG in the third round, and that win in Game 4 is the last win they had on the day.
How about some other teams that you're looking at? Maybe some underdogs, some dark horses going into the. We're going to get to your brackets in just a little while, but I'm going to start. I'll say the Peeps. Don't sleep on the Peeps, folks. Don't sleep on the Peeps. Whenever you do, they seem to say, actually, you're sleeping too early. Let us be your alarm clock and wake you up and remind you that we will continuously put ourselves in the mix when we decide we want to be in the mix. They've been runners up. Haven't necessarily had that level of success in terms of championship wins per se this season, but they do get some impressive victories here and there, and now they find themselves in the playoffs of the major. They have a tall task against NRG in the quarterfinals, but Stax, I saw a little prayer motion there, okay? I saw that. The Peeps, we're not sleeping on them, right?
No, absolutely not. The Peeps are a team that again, they had a very soft run through the bracket yesterday. They were not looking particularly great during that run, but they're also a team that I think more so than any other team on that list plays exactly to the level of their opposition, and they'll do just enough to skate by. So when they get NRG in the first round, you're going to get prime Peeps, and then they may very well have to follow that up with Envy, and then who knows, probably Space Station or G2. Like if the Peeps find a way to win this whole major, they will go through murderer's row to get there. And based on what we've seen from Gyro and any team he's been on in the past, it would surprise everybody except me, basically.
Shogun, any other underdogs, whether you want to talk about peeps or not, any other underdogs, dark horses that you're looking at this playoff bracket?
I just want to sing Alpine's praises, to be honest. I've loved
Yep.
watching Alpine
Yes.
all season. They're difficult to sort of turn around and say, oh, this is a championship contender, but they play really fun Rocket League. They do not care less about the situations that they find themselves in. And when it is clicking, my goodness, it is really, really sweet to watch. They've done it again. They continue to perform a fantastic standard. I love sort of the fact that there are a lot of players on there. You can turn around and just say, this player doesn't seem like the finished article just yet. They don't seem like they are as good as they can be. And that is meant as an absolute positive, because when you are hitting top 8s and you are still in a position where you have got a lot of things that you can work on and a lot of things you can improve, that means that your bar is very, very high. It's another one of those teams that I'm going to be looking at and saying, okay, right now I'm talking at you like, your quarterfinals is you doing a good job, but give it a few months, give it 4 months, and you still keep putting this work in, you still put the effort in, and you're still just as creative, then you could be a championship contender. So the fact that this season is so long is what's exciting me so much about these guys, that this is the team to keep an eye on for a very, very long time. See the incremental progression that they do make, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do.
It's no surprise at all that Shogun's a huge fan of Alpine. They're basically the European retirement home. They've got Mystic as the coach. They've got Doomsy making a lot of great content for them. Well done, Shogi. I can see the bias peeking through just a little bit.
Yeah, I got this one team. I keep forgetting it. I keep waiting for this team every single time we do commentary, because I think it's Creams. Which team is Creams?
Yeah,
selling
yeah,
for?
he's
Welsh, isn't he?
Alpine. Yeah, he's Welsh.
Yeah,
he's
this is the
in
best
Canada.
team. Come on, let Creams play, okay? He'll be Turbo, it'll be Creams, representing Europe.
Yeah, Alpine is great. Their social media is fun too. At times, they're always very happy to be making the postseason. It's like it's almost as if they're making it for the first time. It's like, wow, we did it! Yeah, let's go! It's like a big celebration. I love that. All right, speaking of celebrations, there will be one team celebrating at the end of both majors in EU and North America, and we have prepared for you here on Behind the Wheel our predictions, a little bracketology, if you will. Shogun has created his EU bracket. So let's go through the quarterfinals, then the semis, then the final, then get your big prediction on who will win the fall split major in EU. So, Shogi, how do you have the quarterfinals breaking down?
It's one of those weird ones where I actually feel like I've got the easier job between
Right?
North America and Europe. I feel like there's an actual hierarchy right now in Europe that seems to follow quite closely. So for quarterfinals, I am looking at BDS versus Barca as the first one. And I've already been talking about Barca. I love the way the Barca play Rocket League. I think Ronicky is really improving. But they're against BDS. So, sorry, lads. Have fun next time. Barca's brackets lately have just been horrid to them. I feel like they're a team that deserves semifinals, but they're just not going to get it when they keep drawing BDS and teams like that. Galaxy Racer against Triple Trouble. As I mentioned earlier on, Triple Trouble, very difficult team to try and figure out which version of them are going to show up on the week. So I'm going to go Galaxy Racer. Triple Trouble I've been burnt too many times thinking that this is the day that we're going to really see them pull it all the way up. But that is obviously probably the most difficult one of the quarterfinal matchups to predict. Top Blokes Endpoint. It's going to be Top Blokes. Top Blokes have really cemented themselves as a top 4 team. Endpoint. Grand finals last time. They did really well to get there, but they didn't look hot ever since then. Yes, they managed to make it this point, but they were smashed by Barca in a best of 7 to hold on to their grid spot, and they were relegated from there, where they're going to have to try and play back in. And for Vitality Giants, it's Reno Vitality. Because it's Reno Vitality, and Giants, you have got very unlucky to be forced to play against them at that stage. Let's put it like this. You can kind of see where this is going. I feel like everyone in the world knows where this one is going.
Okay, so Team BDS taking on Galaxy Racer, Top Blokes versus Reno Vitality. Let's move on. Who do you got in the grand final?
Well, to the shock of everybody, I've got BDS going to the grand final, taking it over Galaxy Racer.
Come on. No.
I know.
Really?
I know.
You pull that out of a fortune cookie or what?
I've looked into the future. I've used my analytical brain here, Stax. And
Okay.
I've looked at it and said BDS pretty likely. And all right, we'll just jump straight to it. Reno Vitality and making it as well over Top Blokes. Now that I see that one like actually down, I feel like Top Blokes might actually have a shot at this. But again,
Is it because we sang Top Blokes praises for like 10 minutes before this? Is that why?
Well, I've mentioned it previously. I feel like Flame, the two supporting cast are going to get Top Blokes to these situations where they're in top 8. Archie will win it for them. And I haven't seen Archie do that just yet, so it's hard to put them above a more surefire team for Reno Vitality. But Reno Vitality have also been a little bit more inconsistent and are definitely more prone to dropping those sort of games than BDS might be. And then BDS versus Vitality finals. Stax, matey, I'm going to get you to predict me. All right? What did I predict?
What did you predict? Well, first of all, I had a feeling you'd just predict like Endpoint or Guild to be in the finals.
No, because I'm not stumping. Get there. I'm not going to go Barrage.
I think you took BDS.
I did take BDS. Fantastic prediction there, Stax. BDS taking it. Finally, we get it. It feels like every single time we have had a European tournament, we basically get the grand finals and the semifinals, and it has made, the finals a little bit flat. The last one, not so much so, but BDS kind of just smashed the first two after taking on Reno Vitality. Finally, we're going to get this where it should be in the grand finals. Yes. And it is going to be fantastic. But BDS for me are just too consistent. And I feel like this goes one of two ways in terms of the storyline afterwards. Either BDS are now the team, or we get the good old, what we had previously between Dignitas and Vitality, where we have the rivalry. I am happy with either one on this one. Probably I'd be more happy if Vitality were to win this, just to have that rivalry that everyone can always look forward to. But BDS being the juggernaut, we keep talking about Vitality as the final boss of the region, but BDS are the boss that turn up after the credits have rolled and you realize that you've only played 50% of the game. That is how good they have been.
So Team BDS, according to Shogi, is going all the way. They are winning the major. They complete a miraculous, incredible season that not many people would have predicted at the start of the split, but they have certainly earned their moniker of the Giants of Europe, not those Giants, the Giants, as they went along and continuously defeated team after team and winning tournament after tournament, placing number one in the power rankings many a week en route to, according to Shogi, winning the European major. Let's focus our attention now to North America. Stax, you had a tall task ahead of you. Let's take a look at your quarterfinal predictions and take us through which teams you picked to move on to the semis and why.
Well, the first thing you're going to notice is that I had the Peeps beating NRG in the quarterfinals for two reasons. Number one, I just like annoying NRG fans. It's kind of like cooking ramen. It's very easy and fulfilling. So I've got the Peeps going through there. And the second reason being what I said earlier. They played to the level of their competition, and, first series of the day or, first matchup, first round. Yeah, I think that they can at least give NRG a run for their money. A little bit different than we expected. Entire bracket into disarray. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see the Peeps make a run at this. I expect to be fully disappointed when NRG comes through and just sweeps everybody left, right, and center, unfortunately. Elsewhere in the bracket, I don't like Envy getting Alpine in the first round. I think that's an absolutely miserable draw for them. But, Envy kind of taking a page out of a lot of teams' books in North America. They're going with everybody on site at the team's facility down in Dallas. So they've got a very difficult matchup with Alpine in the first round. I think they survived that, but I think it's going to be a very close series. I do think Space Station and G2 will end up rolling through their quarterfinal series. Rogue is probably the most painful team to watch for their fan base because they have such high expectations and they come oh so close time and time again, but then they just fall short for myriad reasons. And G2, I think, looked like the best team in North America yesterday throughout the Swiss stage. And with that Space Station team, they've been so lackluster since winning the first regional and going on that massive win streak that they did. They're bound to turn things around, and I think they finally do. They make an example out of the Pioneers.
So Peeps taking on Envy, G2 taking on Space Station. That looks like a very spicy and hearty semifinal, especially with NRG not making it past. Shogun, you're looking in thought.
Yeah. I feel like Stax had to pick a surprise on this one, and he went for the team name that has done it more than anyone else. So yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I feel like it was more likely if the Peeps played literally anybody else.
Yes,
of
definitely.
those three. Like if you turn around to me and say Peeps beat Envy, I'd go, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. Yep. You know, G2, Space Station. If there was any team that would probably sleep on the Peeps, Space Station would definitely be it. So
I don't know about that. I think Space Station of all teams, like Reynolds has said, I think he said after the first regional or second regional, I think, yeah, it was the first when they met up. Reynolds said in his like winner's interview, like, hey, we're worried about not a lot of teams. The Peeps, we're worried about them. Like he hates playing them. And then of course the Peeps managed to come back. I think they beat him in the second or third regional. Granted, because Sypical decided he's going to take the best player on the field out of the game by engaging in Rule 1. And then he did it again. And they lost again. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, he literally just said,
I thought you were like referring to the person he took out. I was like,
I'm
very selfless, like, Sypical.
Right? No, it's like Sypical gets tied up in Rule 1 twice in back-to-back majors in the quarterfinals, and lo and behold, they lose that game and the series. I'm like, why would you ever let the other team take the best player on the field out of the game? There's money on the line. What is this crap? That's the only reservation I have about Space Station.
Arda, mate, future interview topic. If you just want to get some of the commentators just going, just talk about Rule 1, all right? It will send them off.
For the last part of me that was muted there, I was enjoying listening to your conversation. Remember the last time that we talked about Rule 1 and Lawler was like, it's not even Rule 1, guys, okay?
That's the other. You can get like the entire podcast just like, so Rule 1. Just like, which one? Now okay. That's where you got to start backing yourself up.
That's the Rule 1 show is going to be in a couple weeks, folks. Look forward to that on Behind the Rule is what we'll call it.
Yeah, if the rules were supposed to be followed, they would be written, not unwritten, like this locking horns stuff and, you know, all the unwritten rules of baseball. Spare me.
You can tell I really enjoy when these arguments break out.
Yeah,
I like to see the world burn, don't you? You just love to create chaos.
Yeah, it's great fun. I'm not gonna back down from this. It's so good.
Okay, moving on, Stax. What your next round? Take us through the bracket. Actually, just take us through the entire bracket. Who do you have winning the major? Go step by step.
Yeah, well, that semifinal, hypothetically, between the Peeps and Envy, I do have Envy winning that. I think that what we saw yesterday from Envy is not their best by far, but you know, I do think that if it comes down to Envy and the Peeps in the semifinals, once they've already had a series under the belt and once they've faced the battle that I think Alpine is going to give them, Envy will be warmed up and ready to go. I think they take that series. And then, like I said about G2, I don't think anybody was better than G2 yesterday. They looked like granted, it's months away, but they looked like a world championship contender yesterday. And throughout the rest of North America, I don't see anybody beating them the rest of the way. I have G2 winning the whole darn thing because they showed me a team yesterday, and they've been a team consistently through the grid, at least, that has been able to adjust and adapt, and they have taken on all comers and beaten them once or twice or multiple times along the way. So I've got G2, the best team in North America, this coming weekend.
How about that? Big feather in the cap for Rizzo, Jane Apps in Chicago. Jazzo as well, as Stax has G2 defeating Envy in the final in his bracketology. In NA, Shogun, you again are looking deep in thought here. You are you're caressing the chin.
Things out here because I'm trying to figure out what on earth is going on. You know, it's Season 10, and Europe is the easy to predict team, easy to predict region that has a very set hierarchy of teams that you know are definitely going to finish in certain positions. And according to Stax's thing, North America is the region of complete parity and different winners at every single tournament, because that would be 4 different winners of each of these now. I'm up for it. I'm up for the complete role reversal. It's just... I was not expecting it when I started this season. I was not expecting this to be the takeaway by the end of the first split.
That bracket comes with one caveat. If NRG does beat the Peeps like everybody else expects them to, I expect them to win the whole bracket, because I think they will.
That was the bit I was going to question you about, which was, and then the logic sort of ran through my head of, because I said if Peeps were going to upset anyone, they actually sort of saw it as Envy being the ones, but then I talked myself out of trying to bring this up to you, because if Envy are playing bad on the day, Alpine will just take them. They wouldn't even get to that point. So that was, a trail of thought that I definitely abandoned. Just for my knowledge, for basically half Team Europe. How do you see Alpine doing against Envy?
I think it's going to be the best match of the quarterfinals. I think that Alpine can absolutely take Envy the distance. And I think that's one heck of a wake-up call for Team Envy. And they've got, now maybe I'm a little biased. I did Envy's broadcast during the grid. They've got maybe one of the most underappreciated coaches in either NA or Europe in Ferrain, who, I think his influence is going to be maybe not noticed on the outside, but it's certainly going to have an impact on how Envy plays and how they adjust, going from, I think, struggling with Alpine to, if they end up against the Peeps, understanding, hey, we can't take these guys lightly at all. Or if it's NRG, well, it's NRG. Good luck, boys. That rivalry has been fun to watch all throughout the fall split, NRG and Envy. And we're on a collision course to have those meet up in a best of 7 in the semis. And if that happens, all bets are off. But then I would have NRG going all the way through.
We're on a collision course with deciding all the majors in South America, EU, and NA. A reminder on timing, October 23rd will be SAM, on the 24th EU, and the 25th NA. We will be back on Monday to give you all of our thoughts on what went down on those 3 majors before we go and end the show with the top 10 plays of the week. Stax and Shogi. Shogi, let's start with you. Where can we find you this week? Where will we hear your dulcet tones on which broadcasts and what you will be doing?
Well, you can always find me at Callum the Shogun on Twitter and on my own broadcast on Twitch at Callum the Shogun. Ask me dumb questions. I will give you dumb answers. That tends to be how we always work it. But you'll also find me over Friday and the whole weekend at the Rocket League stream, holding it down and trying to keep some of my my fellow crew members in check.
Very difficult task indeed. Stax, how about for you?
I'm on the Collegiate Rocket League Tuesdays and Wednesdays over on twitch.tv/Rocket League. Stream very sporadically. Don't bother. And you can follow me on Twitter at StaxRL if you want to tell me how crazy I am for having the Peeps over NRG.
Chat, thank you very much for joining us and sending in all of your comments. Let's end as we always do with the top 10 plays of the week. Thank you so much to Stax and Shogun for joining us here on the show, and our amazing producer Thomas behind the scenes. We will catch you next week. Good vibes and acts of kindness, everybody.
Kinsey, I thought that would surely be a goal for PK.
Definitely should have been. Nobody there, though, to get the finish. Memory looking for the shot.
Oh,
CBS bumped out of the way by Beast Mode. That opens up the net. 1-0 to kick things off a crazy heads-up play here from Beast Mode. Final moment. Look at it. Get out of here.
Comes off the back wall to take the defender out of the picture.
I am honestly very surprised at their journey to get here between Alpine Esports and E United. Game 1 underway, and boy, does it start off on the right foot. Ajax with a double tap.
Ajax wasting absolutely no time. Oh, beautiful double to open up the scoring just 7 seconds in. Alpine Esports. All right, the gauntlet's been thrown down. How do you answer?
opportunity for exit. Still Jay Pau fighting for it on the end behalf. T. Corral, can he get back to it? He does bump Atomic. Can he backflips out? They put over the head. Jay Pau, beautiful shot. And a 1-0 lead for exit.
Oh my goodness, T. Corral, the new pickup, stays on the backboard, bumps Atomic, then backflips to hit J. Pau, who was ready for it. X-set. The creative plays coming out.
True neutral. That has been such an important part of their game so far. They're maintaining this 1-goal lead, and raised ball off the ceiling. The back pass, AJG, far corner. What a play! True neutral, bringing out the big guns.
They've been pushing this, and then they come up with something incredible. Raised ball off the ceiling to AJG. He was in mid-flight before the touch ever happened.
Unfortunate. They'll try to pass out again. Maybe they can pick it back up. Double. Oh, Jordan. Oh, my goodness. Beautiful goal from Alpine.
Apparently nobody else is allowed to score. What a setup from Magic Bear.
Oh my
Wonder
God.
Mike coming across doesn't distract Jordan at all, but man, I can't get over that pass by Magic Bear.
For the first goal, suddenly all that momentum has gone out the window, especially if it's due to a mistake in the No Mercy defense, letting them in. That'll be so frustrating. In comes Firefox. He gets another touch, and he gets a beautiful double tap.
Oh, that class. Haberkamper sends it high. Firefox not challenged whatsoever. Literally every single No Mercy player in the net. And reading that angle off the ceiling ramp sends Noble ahead.
Bombs it downfield. It's on target. Subhulls is barreling down, but just missed the ball there. Sure, you would love another swing at that one. Oh, what a redirect! Oh, what a redirect from Unbroken! This is crazy! He knows the defender's there, and he has the wherewithal to not just throw it high, he puts it right on target, indefensible. Oh my goodness, 88 miles per hour as well.
In front of Ronick, he's got the jump on it, and he drops onto Itachi, so to play it away from Alpha. He's going to have to do this all by himself. How much boost he got? Over the top of one, onto the backboard. Fairy Peak, no way! You're kidding me! Oh my goodness, we're going to overtime!
If there's any team that's gonna do it, it's always this one. Vitality and the kiss from Fairy Peak.
Well, hats off to Barca. If they could defend like this for another few games, then they definitely can.
Ronick again. He needs to start finding those second touches. One blasting clear is not going to do it against BDS. Here's the follow. Monkey Moon can't get past Tachi. Extra. Unchallenged. Oh, what? Free use. Mark can't put it in. And we keep on playing.
How on earth have Barca get that out of the net? I just don't understand. I mean, yeah.
Leading wave, who's going to clear it out. Metsunaris not really set up to be able to make a play on that ball, and Yukis sneaks it around, and that should go straight into the leading wave down. Virtuoso already in the air!
Oh my God!
What is this play? Oh my God!
Look at him! Watch Virtuoso off screen, comes off the ceiling. He's up an hour ago, and somehow connects mid-air. You have got to be kidding me!